when God does bring you somebody, a man, he may not be a millionaire. He may not have all of these cars. He may still be working on himself. And we like, oh, he low functioning. I just think that is so toxic. I think the mentality and I think the attitude is so toxic. And I think it's the reason why some women are probably still single is because they have this very unrealistic expectation of what this man is supposed to be.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Happy 2025. This is Camille Essick. I am host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. We have a phenomenal way that we're starting the new season of the podcast, and I am beyond excited. Excited is an understatement. What I need you all to do right now, I need you all to lean on the share button. I need you to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you have not done so, I need you to do that right now. And I need you to share this podcast with everybody that you know. Share this podcast with everybody that you know. But just the intro of our guests on tonight. We have some amazing, amazing gentlemen here. We're just going to go around round robin here. If you're not speaking, remember to mute your mic. We're going to start just as I see you all. Derek, first of all, thank you for coming back and let the people know who you are and a little bit about what you do.
Thank you for having me, Camille, and hope everybody's doing well. My name is Derek D. Ross. I am a brand strategist, publicist. Been working in the marketing field for about 20 years, but love all things fitness. Used to run track, so a man of many hats. And so thank you, Camille, again for creating the space for us to have dialogue and conversations and to share our experiences with others with the intent of hopefully helping someone else through any challenges and things that they might be experiencing. So hats off to you.
Thank you. You used to run track, but now you're the king of Zumba.
Something like that. Something like that.
Something like that. Seals, my brother.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for bringing me on again. See, it's always a pleasure to come on here and support you in your establishment, online establishment. My name is Seals. I'm known online for Seals the Man. I talk about the mindset of men. I created a YouTube channel for my two young nieces so that when they grow older, they will have almost an online time capsule of what to look out for, the things they need to look for, and when it comes to relationships with men, decent men, and just, to have something from their uncle that they can look forward to in the future. So that's one of the many things I do. I won't list everything. I won't make this by myself, but I thank y'all all for inviting me, and look forward to this.
Wait a minute. We just going to slide past the 100,000 plus subscribers. Like we're not talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost got 200,000. I'll probably cross that this year.
Come on, mega church. Yes, I love it.
And just to expound on that, I'll be making another channel where I'll be talking about the product mind development and personal development for people who are struggling with that, because I wish I had somebody to tell me these things when I was younger. So that'll be my second venture this year. So yeah, I'm humbly thankful. Appreciate you.
When you launch it, if you want to collab or need a guest, I'm here. Let me know. All right, JT, let the people know who you are and what you do.
What's up, everybody? Excited to be back for round two. My name is JT. I am a brand strategist, marketing strategist, and church consultant. So pray for me. If you know how the church is, you know you need prayer every day, huh? It's here. So I'm excited to be here. to embark in this conversation. I just pray I don't get too honest, and we go down a rabbit hole. So everybody here, if y'all feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole, just yell my name and I'm gonna come back up. That's it. That's my
We like
disclaimer.
honesty. That's why you're here.
I
We
know.
don't mind. We don't mind. Rev. First of all, y'all, little backstory. So we call him Rev. Stanley Pounder, Master Chief. And so his wife, Reese, I met her in Naval Justice School and they weren't married at the time. So we were all naval shipmates. And I remember her before she met him, during when she met him, and after she met, and girlfriend just won't stop smiling. So he's my shipmate, but he's also like my big brother because that's Master Chief, and we respect the rank, But yeah, so that's the connection, the Navy connection. So Reverend Master Chief Stanley Ponder, let the people know who you are, what you do.
Oh man, it is a beautiful thing to be here. Definitely feel an honor to be around young kings in their own rights, and I say that they're kings. At least they should have been. Being a founder and pastor right now of InStep Connects, which is a marriage coaching seminar that we put together. It's a 6-week class. You already know that I'm active duty Navy. Also an associate pastor at my church, helping with the youth and kids. It was about 250 of those volunteers and youth. So I stay busy.
Yes. And it's like a running joke. Thank you for your service. He understands. We hate that, but it gotta be a little petty. Minister Byron.
Hello. I am Minister Byron Dixon. I am my profession. I am a IT guru. I just put it as that. I do everything IT. Right now work at Fernbank Science Center where I'm audio visual, and I am the IT coordinator for Fernbank Science Center. I also am a football coach at Stevenson High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia. So that I'm always mentoring young men, been doing that for almost 15 years. And just pretty much just have a heart for men. Just Bible says iron sharpens iron. And I'm just so happy to be here that we can kind of put some sharpening to some dull axes out there on some brothers. And hopefully they can come out sharp. And it's enough brothers in here to make them do that.
I like that. Say that again. You're putting iron on dull axes.
Yeah, we're sharpening each other's axe. Metal on metal sharpens.
I like that. I really do. Last but not least, my brother Prescott.
What's up? What up? I'm Prescott Mack. I am an author, basketball sports agent. I represent professional basketball players that play overseas. An entrepreneur. I also own the professional basketball team in Savannah, Georgia, called the Savannah Buccaneers. And I am also the assistant women's basketball coach at Savannah State University. And I'm just, learning as we go. Hopefully I can learn something from these brothers on the screen. Husband, father, and still trying to figure it out. So happy to be here. I appreciate you, Kim.
I'm excited. Thank you so much. Before we kick things off, I want to say we had one more panelist. He and his wife had been on the show prior to, and so I saw him one day at church, and I was like, I'm doing something in February, and I would love to have you on. And without question, he was like, absolutely. And we booked everything, got the emails were going out. But the Lord called him home. And so we want to just take a minute to honor the life and legacy of Elder Lawrence Wilburn. God had other plans. So he was our other panelist for tonight, but God has, the final say, and he is sovereign. So we want to dedicate this episode to the Wilburn family, Dr. Matisa Laverne, Deshaun Landon, and their daughter, Taya. So without further ado, we're going to slide right into our conversation for tonight. One of the things I wanted to bring up was the fact that there's a lot of negative conversation out here in regard to, the red pill, blue pill community. A lot of toxic stuff going on out here. So I wanted to have this conversation tonight to really sit down with some brothers I knew would come with some positivity and some good, solid information and points of view. And one of the things I want, and anyone can jump in and run with this, but I want to ask you all, like, what have been some of your common challenges that you faced in dating and marriage? What have you seen, and how can those things be addressed? Just be sure to unmute your mic.
Okay, I guess I'll start. The common challenges I think that most people deal with in marriages is becoming to a place where people feel like they lose their identity because two become one. And so I think a lot of times, especially as men are afraid of marriage. First of all, because what social media and society has put on marriage these days is everybody, what we bring to the table. What, is she going to be supportive of me? Am I going to lose myself? Will I lose my own identity? So I think the challenge is being open to communicate what you need and what you expect, and finding somebody who can mirror that and be there. Now, are you both going to be compatible in everything you do? No, but you got to be able to compromise. I believe my pastor was talking about this the last couple of weeks, being able to be in a place where you can compromise and feel comfortable compromising without losing who you are. So I think the challenge is that these days is actually for men feeling like they're going to have some value and not just be a money pot, not just somebody to pay the bills, to be that provider, be that protector, but somebody who can actually, she's your best friend. You can talk to her. You can actually share with her, and she holds you to the end.
Yeah, that's big. I think for me in my marriage personally, one of my biggest challenges was learning that that I have to go first and I have to be last. And so when there's like two people that have needs, and sometimes those needs depend on each other. So like if she needs if she needs like non-sexual affection to get to please me, right? Just we're grown in here to please me, but I'm saying I need the physical affection in order to give the non-sexual affection. Well, we both have conflicting needs, right? One needs the other, so it's my job to go first. Like I have to give her need first for me to receive what my needs are. So that was a big thing for me. And then I have to go last, or I have to be last, meaning when I walk into that house, everyone else in that house comes first, and then it's their job to put me back in the front. So I need to make sure wife, kids, they're all taken care of. Any need that I have when I walk through that door needs to be put to the back burner. And then once I take care of them, it's their job to put me back to the front. Right. So I think I was early in my marriage, I was making the mistake of walking through the door and thinking like, man, I've been working so hard. You should cater to me. You should take care of me. I've been out doing this and that, when in reality, I needed to walk through that door and say, hey, what do you need? And then once all those things are done, then it's my wife and my kids' job to make sure, okay, dad needs, replenishing now. And so I think my biggest challenge and lesson was to learn that I needed to go first and be last.
That's good. I like that. Go first and be last. I'm gonna give you credit. Like the first 2 times I'm gonna use that, but after that, it's something that the Holy Spirit gave me. So I believe that when it comes up to marriage, and if I talk about both sexes, People want to be married, but they don't want to be a spouse.
Oh,
And folks that want to be married is no different than I want to be saved, but I don't want to be a Christian. I want to work at this job, but I don't really want to be the employee. I just want to get the benefits. And I think when you miss yourself within the conjoining of that union, you miss out on some things. A marriage can never fail when two people are trying to beat each other at who loves one the most. It'll never
mm,
fail. It'll also never fail when you understand that to be married and to be joined, you have to first do one thing. You have to be willing to die. And if you're not willing to die, then you can't say that you love that person. And we're not talking about a physical death. It doesn't always have to be like that. But you want to do something, and she or he wants to do something as well. When was the last time you died to yourself to what they wanted? And if both people are trying to beat the other one at loving each other, you're in competition with the Holy Spirit. Now you're in competition with God Almighty. Cause now you're saying, okay, I think I can love them better than you can, and I'm gonna do the best that I can to be the first one to do that. When people learn that, now you're learning how to be a spouse. Now you're learning how to be a husband or a wife. And it is my professional assessment that when people who want to be married, when they just want to understand the glitz and the glamour, that is the folks who plan more time in the wedding and not the marriage itself. That's the people that plan more time with the guest list, but not the people who they can call at 2 o'clock in the morning when they've had a fight. That's the people who have counted someone else's pockets as far as how much money they make, but haven't asked them, but can't count on one hand how many times that they've kneeled down before the throne and prayed for their spouse. So um, to be able to be married is to the willing to die for one another. And I think we miss that when we go into it, not saying I'm willing to die for you, not as a quid pro quo, but now we're into it as what do you bring to me? And I think we miss that.
I like that. Rev, I'm gonna take what you said. I'm gonna remix it on the dating side. So I think for me and the challenges that come up with dating is I want to date, but do I want to be in a relationship? Because if you're dating with intention, then eventually that road is to head into relationship, partnership, and eventually to, marriage and building a family, a life together. And so I think nowadays people are excited about the dating aspect, that, that first, 90 days, all the elements. And then when things settle, it's like, okay, well, are you ready to communicate? Are you ready to, have the difficult conversations? Are you ready to share a safe space? Are you ready to go to therapy together? Right? Are you ready to deal with some of those things that may show up? And in my journey in dating, it was a lot of things that I envisioned what I wanted, but then I had to also then reconcile that with reality. And so a lot of times we're not ready to really reconcile with reality what it really takes to date and then eventually build into something bigger, that then feeds into what you all have been sharing about the space of marriage, right? It starts there, but you have to continue that work. And so people are lazy. People nowadays are lazy and they don't want to put in the work for what they say they want, because when they get in it, then it's oh shoot, I ain't signed up for all this. But yes, you did. If you said this is what you wanted, this is what you're signing up for. If you sign up, if you get a puppy, I got a puppy, he's 3 years old now, but I was signing up for the cute dog and all the other stuff, but I was also signing up for potty training and cleaning up, S on the floor and all this other stuff that comes with it, and vet bills. But it's like all that comes with it, but you have to be ready, and understand that the rewards are going to outweigh the work if you stay in it. So
JT?
This is good. I'm literally listening. What's being said. Only thing I probably would add is being intentional and being patient. I think because society and even myself I love the new updates. I love ChatGPT. I haven't hired one of my assistants back because ChatGPT has, it's done some wonderful things. And I have to catch myself when I become impatient because I know one of the fruits of the spirit is patience for me to be able to wait. And being in a society where things come quickly, I think while certain elements of technology, certain presentations are quick, there are certain moments of our life that should never be rushed. And I do believe that when it comes to dating to marry or dating to get to know, take time, not setting a time frame like, okay, we don't talk every day for the last 2 weeks. Okay, this is good. All right, now this is the third week. Now it's time for me to step it. No, let's move with this thing because one of my former pastors said you should date in all seasons. Because if you're in Atlanta, dating someone in the wintertime and dating someone in the summertime, it's always a hot girl summer happening, and how they are in the winter, it's different in the summer. I need to see you. I need to see you in moments where you're up and you're down. I need to see your aggravation. I feel like we don't put enough time in the preliminaries to ensure that if this is going to be the investment, I'm going to risk all of this on. Let me make sure I put my time into it. I study it and not force things to happen, not force us to go out somewhere. Because the truth is, I'm trying to hurry up to get to this so that I can get the yes and not the rejection. Because I'm not
Mm.
sure if I put this time in, they're going to reject me. I was guilty of that. Let's hurry up. Why am I hurrying? Oh, because if I lock you in, I'm going to get rejected. And the problem is, once I'm in it, I'm like, dang, now I'm committed. What the heck did I do? Oh, because I was moving too fast. So I really think just taking on that space of being patient, not being in a rush. Because at the end of the day, if you're a Christian, you believe God, if he decides to call me to my mansion, I'm winning. So I don't want to sit here and be like, I'm going to miss out because every day I'm excited because this is the day that he's made. So I'm excited. And if I get a partner and we're going to win this thing, great. But I don't need to rush on something that literally could be detrimental to my life, all because I want to hurry up and get somewhere or create this picture that everybody keeps seeing that truthfully is probably not even real. They just need the likes, they need the income, they need the engagement. Let me just take my time to really choose my investment wisely.
That's good. You were talking about being rushed. I hear a lot of men say that they knew the person was their spouse when they met them, but they just wanted to wait and kind of vet them. So, what does that process look like for a man? Because on the woman side, we know what we're gauging and looking at, but what is that vetting process without breaking code, the G code? But what is that looking like as far as like within whatever time frame it is for you, and that time it can be different for every man. But what are some of the things that you wish women knew that, hey, this is something that's important to us?
I'll jump in. Speaking from the dating side, I'm not fortunate enough to be married like you brothers yet, but I know my why, right? So that's a big thing for me. I feel like a lot of our brothers need to know our why and how heavy is that why? How legit is our why? Why do we do the things we do? What's our North Star? Because a lot of us are just aimlessly dating out here. A lot of us are just aimlessly dating because we're horny. We just got off of a breakup. She dumped us, and now it's get back time. Like you brought up in Atlanta, it's city boy summer now. Like, but the ones who are being intentional and having a fruitful future with a woman, one who has one who wants a relationship with God being the foundation and being that back. What is your why, right? And once you know your why, you'll be able to direct yourself and your intentions towards that why. I was taught that a man without a destination is a lost man. Period. You got to have something. Because if you don't have anything trained on your vision, trained on something, you're going to be in the boat, just in the water, just going with the waves. And you know what happens when you ride the waves, you eventually crash, you eventually sink. And a lot of our brothers are going through that. I gotta admit, I went through that at one point in my life too, because I was, just wilding out here, right? Until I tightened up, sharpened up, became a real man through guidance and God's favor. And now I have a why. So I feel like a big thing with men who knows what woman is for them is because she fits, I don't want to say fits the agenda, but she fits the mold. She's of equal yoke. There's no there's no confusion. It doesn't go against his beliefs or his morals. She aligns with what his vision is. So I will say that to you, Camille. Once you know your why, you'll be able to see your future.
Yeah, and
sorry, go ahead. Okay.
I was just going
hit it, brother. Hit it. I'm gonna sit and wait. I think you muted, my king.
I was just gonna piggyback on that a little bit and just say it's really about, like, God kind of called the wife to be a helper. And so if she doesn't know, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have your vision, as Seal said, if you don't have your destination, then how do you know what type of help you need and what type of helper you need? And so if you have your steps ordered and you've already, like Seal said, your North Star, or you have God out ordering your steps, then you know what direction you're going. And if this person that you're dating, or this person that you're considering to be your partner or your spouse, if they're going in a totally different direction, then that tells you everything right there. But if you have someone that's helping you be that GPS and taking you to that destination, then that helps you kind of weed out the ones that are unqualified, so to speak.
I was going to say that I don't know about you all, but when I first got a nice phone, it was an iPhone, and the case was so nice. I was confused as even if I should keep the case or not, because it was like you had a wrapping right here, and then it was how it was wrapped around. You had to pull this hard shell off, and then everything was clean on the inside. It was so clean, even though it was my phone. I wanted to wipe my hands off and get the grease and everything off my hands and pick it up and all nice. And the cord was wrapped in a particular way. I mean, everything was how it was wrapped and packaged made me care for the phone in such a way that it had value, even though that the price was not more than what someone else would buy. It wasn't that it was very expensive, but the wrapping gave value to me. Versus if I went to Walmart and I got the track phone, that thing is right there on the shelf. It's not in the back room. It's right there on the little hanger thing. You just take that thing off. You get a little couple of scissors and rip that thing off. Track phone, boom, there it is. You got it. So the wrapping of a woman is the thing that makes me choose her. When I saw my queen, how she was wrapped in the word, how she moved in the spirit. It had nothing to do with her previous life, her going to be life, or her current life. It had everything to do with the wrapping, and the wrapping made me care for her in such a way. I don't even want to touch it. Wait, first let me clean my hands, because I don't want to get her dirty. And then when I open up the casing, I'm like, oh man, I just want to keep the case. Even though we've been married in my eyes all of our life, the casing itself is such a thing that I want to keep that with me, just in case if I wanted to put my phone in a protected area. And for me, the reason why faith is such a big deal, because it tells me that the person has a line drawn. You can have a different faith. It doesn't matter what your faith is. Let's just go down that street. It has really I do not care about what your faith is, because if you have one, it says you have a line drawn. I will only go this far. And if you go beyond that, that person's faith said, hey, I thought you said, according to X book, you're supposed to blank. The fear is that people are not wrapped in anything. And they can say, well, I'm gonna go this far today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna change it up, and then the next week, boom, 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 boom. And I'm curious if they some people may have a iPhone type of presentation, but they look like the track phone that's at Walmart. And I think they have to, how you think has to match how you're wrapped. And no, another iPhone doesn't know what's an iPhone until someone puts it in the box. So I think that the wrapping says everything.
Minister Byron?
Yeah, I love what Rev said. I want to piggyback on one thing he said earlier in his message, something my former pastor used to say all the time. A lot of times people think relationships are 50-50. Relationships are 100-100. If we're both trying to give 100%, nobody goes lacking. If I'm only giving 50, then you're only getting 50% of me. But if I'm giving you 100, we're both giving each other 100. Nobody goes lacking. So with that being said, I think the misconception that most women don't see when it comes to when we really are in a place, when we really are locked in, first of all, we know who we are. When a brother knows who he is, and and we're being real here, a lot of us have gone through some damaged parts of our lives. We've got the notches on our bedpost, the whole nine. We've dated everybody. We did all that until something in our life changed us, whether it was religion, whether it was God changed us or something. We came to a place where we came to know who we were. When we know once a brother finds out and knows who he is, then when he comes to the place, then he's ready to find that mate. So you as women have to understand that once a brother finds himself, my wife would tell people all the time, the first moment I knew who she was, I started taking over her more responsibilities in her life. I was like, so who do you have? Who's your cell phone? That's what I was taught. That's what my former pastor taught us. He was like, I said, give me your cell phone bill. She was like, huh? Give me that cell phone. I'm proving to you at this moment in time that I'm trying to cover you. That's one of her favorite words. I want to be covered. So if you want to know if this man is really for you, when he starts covering you while he's dating you, while he's getting to know you, when he gets to that covering part, then he's locked in, because first of all, a man can't cover you if he don't know who he is. And that's the big issue, that a lot of women do not actually look and understand that when a man, he has to know himself. And society doesn't, we're being honest, we're black men. So we're already knocked down 5 notches just going into society. So we have to get into a place where we know where we are. We feel like we're successful. Our businesses are doing good. Our jobs are doing good. And I have the things that I need. And once I'm ready there, then I'm ready to take on. Then you know seriously if he's ready for you.
That's good. And I guess to kind of dig deeper and kind of just rip the Band-Aid off of this conversation, I want to know what you all think about the mental health side of being a man and being a safe space for each other. Just in this platform, I have learned a lot about men and communication and how not having that space to communicate and to talk and open up. And if you were to cry, it's like now you're antagonized in your orientation and sexuality, like, oh, I'm not a man, if I shed a tear or two. But now we're in a space and time where it's not as taboo as it used to be. So what are you all doing, or what are your thoughts as far as within each other, as far as the brotherhood, creating a safe space of community for your brothers to come to you and talk without the ridicule of being emotionally vulnerable and not being judged?
Well, I think it starts with asking the man, when was the last time he redefined manhood? And when you ask a man when was the last time he redefined manhood, you usually don't get an answer because they have not done it. We have not done it. I grew up in the 80s. So it was all G.I. Joe, Transformers. I grew up on Rambo and Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So that is what was in my brain. That's what a man does. He lifts weights. He is strong. He knows how to have sex with a woman. He knows how to make her moan very well, and he knows how to make money. It had nothing to do with the emotion. And when I tried to show emotion on the playground, I got ridiculed for it because they're like, why are you doing all that? We don't do it like that. And I'm like, well, my mama likes that. You're a woman. My mama's a woman. Now I'm confused. So then I do what the girl on the playground does, be a little tough, be a little like this, be a like that. Okay, cool. Now I go home and my mama's like, where's my baby? What's going on? And now I'm confused because I want to be my mama's child, but I want to, but I want to holler at Shawty over by the swing set. You know what I'm saying? Because she got that skirt on. So it's very confusing for us. So then we get praised by the girl that we like on how tough we are, and then when it gets to the point to breaking that out, I wasn't praised on how vulnerable I was. I wasn't praised on how secure in my feminine side that I was. I wasn't praised on how I just showed my emotion. I was praised on the fact that I can take a lick and keep on ticking. I was praised on the fact that nothing affects me. I was praised on the fact of being strong, and my identity with strength was you can't see nothing on my face even though I'm broken on the inside. So I would hate to say it like this, and you can bleep it out if you want to. Men are broken because of women, but that's only because that's all women knew.
Oh,
And if
wait,
women
hold
and if
on.
women take a time
What
to
is that?
step back,
Yeah.
when men are broken because of women, but that's only because that's all women knew. Most girls grew up with doll houses, so she was learning how to be somewhat of a wife throughout that time. We had army men. It's kill or be killed. Look, this video game is life or death. So now that we're together and we got these two worlds clashing, you want me to act like how your Ken doll was in the fantasy world you have, and I'm trying to get you to act like the girl on that VCR tape that I pressed play on, huh? So it's extremely confusing. I mean, think about it right now. A great number of women is not flaunting themselves to the guy that is caught in his emotional state. They're flaunting to the guy that looks like he can fight a bear and take his coat. So it's very confusing for us. Equally so on the men's side, but we're talking about men right now. So that's what it is. And I think we just need to just hit the reset button and come and say, okay, how do you define manhood? And it is, you have the autonomy to redefine it now that you are of man age. And I think we find safety in that woman's arms that allows us to just let me redefine it. Today, I just want to say I don't feel like it. Today, I want to say I want to quit and not be held against it. Today, I just want to say, man, can somebody just take care of me? Can I be the pampered prince today? Can somebody just drive me around? That's what we want to say. But do we have a safe space to say it without these new terms? Or you acting sassy, you acting that. And when women say that, all you did was shut us up. And it didn't mean that you shut us up because we don't have anything to say. We just don't have anything to say to you. So I just try to just tell men, redefine manhood, and let's go down that street on what makes you feel comfortable.
That's really good. Derek?
Listen, I'm listening. I'm taking it in. I think it's creating the space to what Rev said, is where we have to unlearn a lot of things as we get older. I'm still learning and still uncovering traumas from when I was younger, and how I show up today and what that means for me and how I show up in different spaces. I have an avoidant attachment style. Just really understood what that was maybe a month or two ago, and how that shows up in my communication and my
Can you break
relationship
that
and
out a little bit?
friendships. And the Homer meme where he's walking back through the trees when things get very heavy emotionally, when I feel rushed, when I feel pushed to certain things, and there's a lot more in depth in that, but this is just high level. I shut down emotionally or I pull back if I feel forced into making a decision that I haven't made the choice to choose. Right? It's a lot of different things that shows up in that, and that then determines how I show up in relationships and in friendships and and bonding with other people. I always want to feel like I have the choice to choose. And if I choose it, oh, I'm in it. But if I feel that I have been emotionally manipulated in a way, or, yeah, I think that that's the best way to put it, emotionally, mentally manipulated in a way that makes me feel like that choice wasn't truly mine, that it was kind of led down this road and then I chose it. And then in hindsight, I look back like, did I really choose that? Like, this is the space I really want to be in? Is this? And so I'm learning more and more of how to navigate that. And even navigating that with other people, there's there's other attachment styles and how they even battle against each other. And so I think in Rev's point, into even what Seals Man said earlier, and my brother Prescott, about knowing yourself, even with that iPhone analogy, iPhones are tested before they go to market. All the stuff. And so we have to constantly go back and upgrade the software, whether that's therapy, whether that's talking to other brothers that's been through similar experiences, and being open and vulnerable enough and having that space, right? Understanding what vulnerability is, right? It's a lot of redefining a lot of things, what it is to be a man, manhood, but then also what do these terms mean? What does vulnerability really mean as it pertains to a man? What does being comfortable? What does mean sharing? And so I think it's just really continuing having that dialogue and finding spaces where those of us that have been doing the work, that have some awareness, can say, hey, I can lead this conversation, or I can show up and be the example, or at least help to guide other brothers in this path to help as we're redefining those terms and things. So
JT.
I guess it's a lot of preachers on here, so I'm just gonna keep using their analogies,
No, use
and
your analogy.
flowing. No, because I'm a preacher too, so I might as well just keep
I don't
the
want it
flow
to be
going.
preachy. I want it to be
I
honest.
know,
Like,
I know, I get it, but the thing is, in the space of what Derek just said about the upgrade and using the phone, the one thing that we don't do is we don't read the instructions to learn about everything on the phone. So when something goes wrong, we try to troubleshoot ourselves instead of just going to the actual book that knows everything about it. And I feel like as men, even myself, I'm good at being honest. I'm good at, learning until it gets a little tough, until I start seeing things that require me to have to make actions outside of me and myself communicating together. It's the moments that I have to start addressing things of the past and things I may have done to people or things I may have said. It gets a little tough then, because now I'm like, wait a minute, this is going to show them that I was weak, I was wrong, I was in a bad and sad place, I was dealing with something. And not knowing, not spending enough time with myself, reading my manual, going to the good book, being able to have that conversation, I get stuck. And I'm sitting there diagnosing an issue that could be fixed if I just really became honest with myself. If I really just knew what my triggers were and able to say that, able to put some things out, able to be vulnerable, able to find other people. I remember it was one time I was just talking about just looking at my life and seeing how much I do for people, right? And I was like, pat on the back. We're doing well. And I looked at what I was getting back from the ones I was helping, and I didn't see the same token. And I was like, and I mean, I'm ready to get my pen and I'm getting ready to put them on this list. And we're gonna create an exit strategy. Until Holy Spirit said to me one day, It's because you haven't told them about you. They call you and tell you about them so you know where their triggers are, you know what they're dealing with, you know what they need help on, but you never pick up the phone and talk to them when you're having a hard time, when you're dealing with something. So how can you expect them to know about the deep parts of yourself and you never open up and share it? And I had to start balancing that out, but it took me having to spend time to look at my manual, to look at myself, to look at what the book says about who I am and what I should be, and being able to know when issues arise within myself, knowing how to deal with it and then articulate it. Because now when I'm dealing with something, I tell it, I share it so that others around me that are close can find certain moments and triggers that may say, hey, Jay, you good? Yeah, I'm good. What made you say that? I remember, oh, thank you for checking in. So I think just spending time getting to know us and being okay with not being perfect, being okay with not being always on 10, having weak moments, not being able to hit the mark, being okay with that, but having the right people around you so that when you say that you're not okay, they want to go to your manual and figure out what do we need to do to get it fixed. So.
Minister Byron?
It's a couple of things that were said that really triggered something in me. And I think I'm a flip it and just be real honest. A lot of times men are in a mental state because of where we learned what manhood was. Let's just be honest. We learned it in the barbershop. We learned it from our uncles. They didn't tell us the truth. They just told us what you were supposed to be as a man. Boys, quit crying. Men don't cry. They told us and they taught us that we were not supposed to be feared. And I love the way Rev flipped it. And that's what our uncles told us, the G.I. Joe, the Army men, the whole nine. And then when we turned around and actually found that first woman that we really cared about, and we wanted to cry, and we ended up crying from because we were in a vulnerable situation at that time. She did something. Okay, we finna go there, Camille, but she did something to me that brought out an emotional state of me, and I cried. And then she looks at me and breaks me back down and be like, but I need you to be that tough protector man, instead of embracing what that was, because everybody told me I could not do that. Mm-hmm. So you got a lot of men that are, the reason they don't get in relationships is because they do not want to feel that again. That is not something you want to feel as a man, that once you open up, once you get there, that there is a female that brings you back down and tells you, you can't be that kind of man. That's not the kind of man I want. Well, as you just said, JT, but that's what the book told me. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and I do have an emotional side to me. I'm not supposed to be that guy all the time, 24/7. I have to be in a place where I can, because if not, let's just be honest. A lot of times when we do get to a certain age and really ready to settle down, we got so much trauma and built up stuff that we never released. Even stuff that we could talk about from our childhood. Yeah, I grew up in the whooping stage. It's still some stuff. I'm like, well, why in the world did my mom and dad whoop me like that? Why did I have to go through that? And then I'm really going back and forth. Well, do I want to take that on my own kids? Because that's the only way I knew how to raise. So, hey, do I do the same thing? And now, if you lived around a lot of toxic relationships growing up, you was like, hey, you saw your uncles. Hey, I saw him get rough with auntie a couple of times. Is that how my relationship's supposed to be? I ain't never see uncle cry. I ain't never see. I think what we actually saw, what we actually dealt with as men, we never found the safe place that somebody really defined what a true man is, that we can be vulnerable. I love the way Reverend said it, is that some days I do want to come home and just be like, hey, can I be the pampered prince today? Can you just take care of me today? Because you don't know. Let's just be real. In the time we live in now, hey, I might have just got stopped by the cop. Do you realize on the way home he pulled me over and I just had such an anxiety of, was this my last day as a black man? Or I just went to the mall and was looking for a gift for you, honey, and I got walked around the whole store because they thought this black man couldn't afford nothing in this store. So we dealing with so much racist stuff going on and so much emotional stuff that we can't let out. So you want to be with someone that you can be comfortable with, that you want to be in a place. You got to have that prayer partner brother. You got to have that brother that you can talk to, that one guy. If it ain't just with one guy, sometimes it might not be your spouse. It might not be that female, but you got to have one brother be like, hey, man, hold me up today. Because, man, the day was rough. The day was just something I couldn't deal with. And I can't put it on social media because now I'm going to be labeled. So, but that's what we use social media. Now, social media has become our post now. And men have come to that to say, I just put it all out on social media. You read the comments, you be like, man, he just got bashed by 50 women just because he said he had a rough day. So I think coming into that place, men actually need a safe place too. We have to have a safe place to let all that out.
Marvin?
Yes. Also,
or go ahead, Sis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I also want to say, man, I love these points. It's like this is exactly what we need, like brothers talking to brothers, because we're so closed off with each other a lot of times. I also want to say it starts with us individually as men. I noticed that I'm also a youth counselor in the winter and the summer for teenagers, and one thing that I noticed with them is that there's a perpetual cycle of brokenness. And then when you ask these kids what it is to be broke, they think, oh, it's about not having money, right? And so the thing with a lot of us is that in order to cure that problem, we try to acquire things, and we try to acquire a lot of things as men. That means a lot of women. So now we out here just juggling women, big pimping, right? Now we're trying to acquire a lot of money. So we use all types of avenues, illegal and legal, to get all this type of money. Now we're acquiring possessions. Rev, you brought up something like you said you were raised on soldiers, right? MASH and Rambo, right? I know these things. My grandfather used to watch it every day. But and now you have brothers out here acquiring weapons, acquiring bullets, but we are not acquiring the ammunition for life. And that is what I see what's missing in these young men these days. They are not acquiring what it takes to be great up here. The things the intangibles, the things you can't touch, buy, return, sell, those are the things our brothers are missing out on nowadays. They think being broke is not having money, but being broke is in here. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's emotional maturity. How you expect to have a woman if you can't even hold something that's good for you? It always falls apart because you're broke here. When you're broke inside, everything around you is going to break too. So I find that in a lot of our men today, and I was once that man, so I feel like one of the biggest problems, which is a root to all the things we talked about today, is being broke on the inside. Because there's a saying, when you break a mirror, even when you put those pieces back together, you can still see those cracks. Well, I would rather be that glued together and you can see my testimony through those cracks. But a lot of us don't want to put the pieces together. We accept our fate. We accept us being broken, shattered glass on the ground, and we remain broke. So I think that's my message for this year and on for a lot of our young men, is to realize where you are in your life, realize the things you need to work on, realize the reason for your prayers. The thing that's on your mind when you wake up every day, that might be the reason why you are in this broken state, and you need to work on that. You need to approach that. You need to face that. You need to fight that. And once we get over that, then we'll be on the road to fruition. But until that, a lot of us will remain broke, and we will create broken generations through our children and our grandchildren. And we're going to continue to talk about these things we're talking about today, So that's one of the biggest things I think we have to nail on when it comes to our young generation of men.
Marvin, thank you for joining us, Marvin.
I'm so sorry, fellas. How y'all doing? I didn't catch the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, we're just discussing safe spaces for Black men and just how to do that.
How to have safe spaces for Black men?
Yeah. Communication.
For myself, working in a elementary school or in education period, I have learned to have safe space for us and for males. And how we do that is finding someone, like the fellow said earlier, finding someone who we can talk to, we can trust, we can confide in. I know for a lot of us, like they said earlier, we are nervous to find that safe space because of the things we've been through, or being judged. I think we have to really realize that we do have males in our community that really wants to help us succeed. And I think it's more so of us trying to figure out if they're cool enough to talk to. Are they going to tell my business? Are they going to judge me? You have all those things in your head that you think about. And like the fellow said earlier, even with the women, we try to have that safe space with them. But sometimes they look at us, differently, like they said earlier, as far as you're a provider. You don't supposed to cry. You don't supposed to have emotions. And then we wonder why things don't happen the way they happen, because of us being hurt or us being fragile as far as wanting to confine in somebody, if that makes sense.
That's good. One of the things I want to ask you all, I think somebody's not muted. Okay. One of the things I want to ask, if you're not speaking, please mute your mic because I'm getting some feedback. One of the things I want to ask you all, as far as where we are in society, I don't think women understand the amount of stress and pressure you go through, whether if you're a man in ministry, you're entrepreneur, maybe both, 9 to 5, both. Just what does that really look like? Illustrating how that feels and just the necessity of having that emotional, mental, spiritual support, because I think a lot of men wear it, but sometimes if the woman or whomever you're with is not in tune with you, they can miss a lot of red flags. And then there's an event, and then everybody's like, oh my God, like it's such a surprise. I didn't know. But if you go back and really read some of the lines of that chapter, that story, you can see where it really the break happened. So can you guys kind of tap in for the listeners and viewers, just explaining and letting people know that the stress and pressure is real. I think one of y'all just tapped on it earlier. And then just how we can show up and support you more in those areas.
Well, I think the first thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You got it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. I think the first thing, so when it comes up to the stress is extremely real. I had a suicidal break 2023, and I spent that whole year thinking that if I wanted to be suicidal or homicidal. In many cases, it was both, and going back and forth with that space. And I let the queen know, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. And she heard what I said, and then she went right into what she was needing from me. And then I stopped and I looked at her and I said, I don't think you understand what I just told you. That the stress of running this family, 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls, a bad wife. Running a career, holding up a ministry, so being the emotional support from a mom, and all the issues I'm dealing with when it comes up to race now culture, when it came up to still the effects from 2020, when it comes, I've brought up all those things, and I say, and you're asking me for help right now. Do you not see? So when I got through all that, I had to just leave the room, and she came down, and she was broken. And she said, I had no idea you was going through that. And I said, and I'm thinking to myself, but I told you. And I don't think sometimes it registers. And this is because of how we're raised. And let me just, I'm gonna try to say this as briefly as I can. When you're daddy's girl, daddy takes care of everything. So now that girl wants a man like her daddy. and you're supposed to. When mama's around, my baby ain't gotta do nothing. I'm gonna make my baby's plate. I'm gonna make sure his clothes is done. Boom, 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 boom. So when he grows up, he wants a woman like his mama. Both of those are fine. Both of those are fine until there's an emotional disconnect, and then there's a need that doesn't match how you grew up. And now there's a confusion. And when that confusion happens, there becomes chaos because now you're displaying something I'm not used to. My dad never dealt with that. Well, something must be wrong with you. Why you can't listen to me? I can always go talk to my mama. Well, you're a mama's boy. Well, I didn't marry no daddy's girl. So now we're fighting each other, thinking that each other is the problem, not understanding that the problem is the problem. And if the problem is the problem, then we need to step back and say, okay, what is it that we're really dealing with? So to answer your question as briefly as I can, when it comes up to those mental stresses, is extremely hard. There is not a man on this line right now that doesn't see a woman working at Walmart and saying, man, I have enough money right now to take that woman working at Walmart, get her a house, get her the clothes that she wants to, get the car, take care of the kids, work for this company for 30 years and be able to retire with a pension. That woman went around and saying, girl, I found somebody who can take care of me. That is the extent of it. That's it. None of that deals with, I found somebody who I can lay my head on. I found somebody, this man right here, I can take that emotional stress away from him. Those things are not highlighted. They're not spoken about. It's usually what you have in your wallet or how short your dress is. So those spaces are difficult. And every man on here, I know that we can all relate. You don't want to be the one that your wife is financially taken care of because there's a piece away from you. You don't want to be the one that is crying because you're still dealing with the time that cop pulled that gun out on you because now there's a piece from you. That is going to be hard to really come to grips with. And I think it goes hand in hand with the previous conversation. We have to redefine what we think relationships are and manhood is. Grandmama, granddaddy stayed together for a long time, but granddaddy was Rolling Stone. So do we really want to have that relationship? No, we do not. Longevity does not equate to connectivity. So you have longevity, but not connectivity. So I think we just have to redefine it, but it's definitely hard. No one on this line can say that being a Black man in any country for that matter is going to be easy.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that a little bit because I feel I also, like Derek, I'm a fearful avoidant. I have a fearful avoidant attachment style, which means I'm a anxious avoidant. And where that stems from is really, home and childhood. Just because we didn't talk about issues, we just kind of brushed we get mad at each other. Like me and my mother would get mad at each other and argue, and then there was never an apology or any reconciliation. We just, it was over with. Like you go to your room, I go to my room. Next, when we see each other again, we good. Like we don't talk about it. We good. And still kind of do that to this day. And I learned that my wife has a very healthy attachment style with everybody else except me, because I have a fearful attachment style. So she has her guard up when it comes to me. So I've learned that when I was trying to express myself, she was also avoiding. Like she also had an anxious attachment style towards me, and I would get upset learning that. I would even say like, hey, you are like pleasant with everybody else. Everybody else can come to you and talk to you and open up to you, but as soon as I do, you don't hear anything that I'm saying. And so we had to do the work, just like the analogy with the iPhone. I'm not, if you look at previous episodes that I've been on the Speaker podcast, I'm not the same man that I was before, right? So I have to also take these times to learn. At each update, I got to relearn myself, and I got to relearn my needs, and I got to relearn how to communicate. but also I have to do that with her, and she has to do that with me in order for us to be able to continue to communicate and not be toxic for each other. The other part is learning how to be vulnerable really stems from just me personally. And this is no knock to my father. My parents divorced when I was really young, and I know my father. My father loves me. I have a good relationship with my father, but he wasn't around all the time. And I didn't have like a good, clear, healthy view of a father, which is what God is supposed to be to us. And I think the problem with men is we don't understand that, hey, God is really trying to be our daddy. Like, and when I think about my son, like I can hug, kiss, love, and nurture my son as his dad. And when I learned that, like, okay, when I'm going through something, God actually, He not saying, hey, shake that off, like pat me on the butt, you don't cry. No, He wants to coddle me. He wants to hold me. And we don't picture that. We don't picture that when we pray. We don't picture that when we think of God, because we think like we're stuck in our masculinity, so to speak, instead of like going to Him in a surrender of, that is my Father, and I can literally fall and break down into His arms, and He's going to hold me, and He's going to love me, and He's going to kiss me. And that is not in any way, shape, or form gay, homosexual, anything, because that is my Father. And once I learned that, it was like, oh, I mean, yes, I would love to be extremely vulnerable with my wife, but I don't have to, because I have a Father that I can go to, and I can literally cry to, and I can be as vulnerable as I want to, as I should have been as a young boy with my dad, and how my son can be with me, because he can cry, he can come to me, and I will hold him, and I'll love him, and I'll kiss him, and I'll teach him, and I'll instill masculine values into him. But I am going to be a safe space for him, as God wants to be for us. So I think that was huge for my growth, and learning how to be vulnerable as a man, and really, like, whether my wife, if I express this to my wife or not, or if any man expresses it to any woman, you don't, like, if she hears you, great. But if she doesn't, like, you can get it out in confidence, because you went with the authority of God, and you've already been reassured and validated by Him. So I don't need to be validated by you, because I know my feelings are validated.
Minister Byron.
Man, that was good. That was good. You said some good stuff right there, because I think a lot of times we do mistake, especially the nurturing part of being a man, because sometimes we don't know how to be nurtured because we've never been nurtured. Only person nurtured us was mom. That's why dad took you to football practice. Dad took you everywhere. Dad took you all this, and you get on national TV and score your first touchdown. You say, what? Hi, Mom. Why not say hi, Dad? Dad the one did, because Dad was never nurturing. So I love the fact that what he said about God being that nurturing person for us, God being in that state for us. And I think a lot of times as men, we got to get into a place where, first of all, we do go back to the Father to be. That's one of the key things that I love, especially when I'm doing men's ministries. If you ever go to Genesis and you're ever reading what happened in the garden before woman was ever created, we had what we call cool of the evening moments. That was when man named all the animals. That's what God told him to do. So how did he have the intellect to name all the animals? Is because he got his instructions the night before. In the cool of the evening, he met with God. Problem is, we've never been taught to have our cool of the evening moments. Men, we have a straight connection to the Father to get our instructions for that day, how to love our children, how to love our spouse, what to do on this job, what to do that. When we can go to the Father on a daily basis on that one, that was just a good, honest moment we had with God to be able to be vulnerable and for him to say, son, I hear you. I know what you're going. It was rough. You saw that long neck animal and you just couldn't come up with a name for him. We're going to call him Giraffe. It's okay. You got this tomorrow. So name him Giraffe tomorrow. Thank you, Father. And when you wake up in the morning, you just went on your daily run to start naming all the animals. We lost that connection where we had those cool of the evening moments. And I think every man has to get to that place. I love the way Prescott put that. You got to get back to a place where you got a connection with God, where you got a connection with the Father, so you can be in a vulnerable state. Because let's just be real. You're not going to get it from your spouse all the time. Rev said that earlier. You're not going to get it from another mate all the time. So I think strong, we're putting something out there in the world that the world don't want to hear. That men can, first of all, be vulnerable, that we can be in a place where we need to be nurtured and that we can be nurturing. Because a lot of times the same thing we did, it's learned behavior. That's how we were raised. So that's how we raise our boys. Hey, man, suck that up. No, you might not want to suck that up today. You got the right to be there. And I love the way Prescott said, I still can teach you masculinity. But I also can show you that you do have a soft side. And I can show you what to do. Hey, son, let's pray together. Let me show you how to get in tune with that nurturing part. Because a lot of times you can get messed up with mama. Mama gonna cover you. That's what mama gonna do. But God's gonna protect you. So you can go back into this world and deal with what we deal with. But people don't want to realize that it ain't easy being a black man in America. Or in any part of this, Rev said, in any part of this world, it's not easy. It's stressful. With that whole Black Lives Matters, if that didn't teach every black man, I believe every black man got into a moment of vulnerability at that moment in time when we saw that brother holler out for his mama. Every brother had that moment where they were saying, I've been there. And it was just because I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, but I had the right color and they didn't respect what my color represented. So I had to deal with it. And we deal with that on a daily basis. So I love that part, Camille. But man, Prescott, you brought something up on me. I might have to dig on that. Yeah, I like that.
That's really good. There's something I want to ask you all, Derek and Seals. I want you all to take this first. And we've talked about this before, but I want to bring it back around because it just seems like something we need to continue to dig out. The term I call it performance exhaustion, where it's get the money, get the woman, get the check, get the awards, get the house, get the car. And it's a way to compensate or band-aid some of those other stresses, hurts, and pains, and why men do that. And I want to dig deeper into that question as far as you do it, but then you're gassing out, and then there's a crack. And you may tap into a vice, whether it's something you're watching, maybe something you're putting in your body, some other type of vice to try to dull or null that pain. So Seals and Derek, just to jump off this segment, as we turn the corner in this conversation, as far as your perspective, as far as how men are dealing with performance exhaustion.
Yeah, that's a heavy question, Camille. It takes me back to one of the reasons why I've always been so driven. I was molested when I was younger. And so for me, the mindset was, okay, well, you won't ever be able to say that about me because I'm going to achieve all these other things. Even as a young person, that was my thing. So I, was great in school, sports, was a homecoming, all this other stuff, did all these things. And that drove me into career. That drove me into always wanting to be, hey, I'm gonna have all these accolades, but never wanting to deal with or have that conversation around that label. You could label me as everything else, but you won't be labeling me as that. And that was just a coping mechanism, a survival mechanism. so to speak. And it wasn't until I got older where I was like, well, that was the driver, but that wasn't necessarily a healthy driver for me. And so as I got older, and I've had the conversations, I've shared, I've told my mom about it. I told my dad that I grew up with, not my biological dad, but my dad that I grew up with. And their response was like, well, why'd you never share it with us? And I'm like, why, how could I, as a child? What was I supposed to say? How was I supposed to bring that? And even as a child, I, in my head, didn't want them to feel like they were failures at protecting me, right? And so I never brought it to them because I was trying to protect them. And so I've always been in this space of protecting other people and trying to hold up this image, right? And so it wasn't until I got older where I was like, it's okay to share, but just figuring out how to share, getting to a point where I can stand on it and not be impacted by it. But really, and so some of that just came from seeing other brothers tell their stories, other brothers sharing. And so for me, that's what the driver was, that performance mechanism of having to always show up this, and code switching in different rooms, even, when I was in high school, I was friends with the white kids. I was friends with the folks in the hood because I grew up in the hood when I was in Winston-Salem, and so I could code switch and switch around with a lot of different groups, but I never felt like me because I was always trying to show up and perform in these spaces. And that went into career and how I show up at work, and always wanting to be the one that solves everybody's problem, but not standing up for myself. And so over time, I was able to get to a point that the more I spoke up on it, the more I could hear my voice back, the more I felt more confident in saying, holding boundaries and spaces. And so as I shared a lot of that performance stuff over time, going to therapy, opening it up, being comfortable about talking about it, the more I could feel myself kind of regaining that power and being able to now shift from performance and just being present and being me. And so that's been, and that's a constant journey, right? You get triggered, you go back to some old ways, but that's a constant journey for me that I am, still navigating and still finding my way through as I hit different seasons and different perspectives in my life. So.
Seals.
Those are great points, D. I'm gonna bring up something I feel like we all have gone through because I've heard all of you, and I feel like y'all all live some sort of busy lives, right? Where you kind of outrun yourself sometimes. But for me, I would say that a lot of our type of men, we are so busy with ourselves and our lives sometimes that we look for quick fixes instead of quick fixes. You could equate it to Band-Aids, right? We look for quick fixes so that we can get right back on the road, right? Instead of figuring out like what's really wrong with us and taking the long route to fix that. I kind of remind myself to like NASCAR or any kind of like racing where like the car is going fast, right? But it has to stop at that pit stop sometime. It can't keep going because you're going to burn yourself out. And that is what I do a lot. I'm still working on it. God is still working on it with me because sometimes I try to outrun myself and not realizing that I'm burning myself down. I literally just got off a break. I didn't do any videos or any content for like 2 months because I was just like, I lost my why. I lost my reason to the why I'm doing this incredible thing that God has blessed me with. And I always said, once I lose vision of God in my work, then I need to stop. I need to recalibrate. I need to reconfigure. I need to make that pit stop because now what I'm getting into is some sinful things because if it's not God, it's sin. So I start to realize like, what am I doing it for? The money, the exposure, my brand, like I need to realign back with God. Right. So sometimes I can outrun myself and end up outrunning my blessing. And that's something that I don't want to do because I've done it before, and once you outrun yourself, you run into mud real quick. So I love what you said, D, because you're very vulnerable with that especially about how people label you based on your history. And sometimes your history repeats itself if you do not stop and give yourself a break and realign and reconfigure and get that connection with God once again. Some people think like that we have this eternal connection with God and that is perfect all the time and that we're always holy and always sometimes you mess up. Or sometimes you could get so happy with how things are going with your business or your career that you lose sight of the reason why you're in this position, right? Because we're human. But man, once you realign yourself, those clouds open back up, and now you're no longer burnt out. Now you're remembering the why, and now those blessings starts to pour back in. So I thank God for His mercy because I could be a fool sometimes. This human experience is imperfect, but I know my relationship with Him is perfect. So I always try to tell people that when you're noticing that you're burning out more and more again, remember your why with God. And that is the ultimate, because it is unlimited. We are limited. Once you have a source and you're plugged into something that's unlimited, like this lamp that I have on, or this TV that as long as I plug it in and I pay that bill, it's going to keep going. But as soon as you plug out, it's a wrap. And you could try to turn yourself back on. You could try to provide your own power supply and electricity. You're just going to burn yourself out every single time. So that's big for me, reigniting your connection with God and the ultimate source. And that's going to keep you going on for as long as you can.
Marvin, and then Prez or Ref can go either.
Go ahead, Rev.
You were supposed to go. No, man, this is difficult because I think it's difficult because when I'm thinking about like the gentleman had already said it in the best way possible, and man, I'm trying to say this in the best way possible. I guess in a short way that you know what. Let me think about it some more because I want to be more succinct. Give me a minute.
Okay, Marvin.
I'm like D. My history has afforded me to be where I am now. But like D said, there are times where it comes back up, and they remind you every chance they get. So knowing God and understanding who He is and who you are in Him allows me to continue on that path. Of course, like Seal says, we get off track and we, just try to focus on other things so we don't have to worry about those things that are still hunting us, if you will. And so for me, I just try to stay focused, stay on the right track to keep my mind focused on that, so I don't lose my why. Because I have done that before as well. Like Seal, you lost your why because you listen to other people, you listen to things that are going on, and you're trying to stay abroad, or you're trying to stay, I won't say with the Joneses, but you're trying to keep up, if you will. And so sometimes that allows you, because you see your brothers doing what they're doing, and you want to do the same, or you want to be on that level as well. And sometimes because of your past history or what have you, or whatever the reason may be, it just never gets to that point. But I'm in a place now where I'm at peace. It took for me to leave Tallahassee, Florida, to come to Atlanta, to realize who I really am in Him. And so that's where I am. And that's how I kind of try to stay focused with that, and having the right people around you to help you stay focused with that. I think that plays a big part in your focus and what you're doing, making sure that you guys are huddling up to find out where you are, where your mind is, and how you operate, and what can I do to keep you on the right track. And so that's how I kind of deal with mine.
Wow. Y'all, we have unpacked so much here. I definitely want to bring you all back. I guess will be part 3, 4. I stopped counting. just because I just really enjoy having you all here. Before we close things out, I do want each of you to give us takeaway nugget or gem as far as that men can take with them um, until we bring you all back for the next conversation. Also, what you have going on and where we can contact you on social media. So I'm going to start with Prescott. First of all, Pres, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Just for our brothers, is there one more thing that you feel like they need to know or think about until we do this again? Because we are going to do this again. So
Yeah. So falling in love, finding somebody to kick it with, that's easy. Partnership is hard. When you're a partner, you gotta think about the other person. You gotta compromise. You gotta sacrifice. Like, partnership is difficult. All the other stuff, getting there is easy. So if you really and truly want to kind of navigate the dating and married life, you got to be ready to be a partner. But I am Prescott Mack. I am international basketball sports agent. I recently wrote a book about how to become an international basketball sports agent. I also own a TBL organization, which is the Basketball League. So I own a semi-pro team in Savannah, Georgia. We have our season actually coming up in March, and we play from March to June, and we play at the Savannah State University. I'm also assistant women's basketball coach at Savannah State University. So reach out to me. My Instagram is at pmac.sportspro. And would love to connect with anybody, network with anybody. And I appreciate you, Camille, for having me on.
absolutely. Rev?
I would say probably the most important thing to take away is that self-assessment. Not everybody, let's just assume that everybody doesn't have the access to healthcare and things of that nature. So here's how you know that you probably need to take a step back. Scoring is something that we're very used to. If you play basketball, they want to ask you how many points you made, what position you play. If you play football, how many yards that you run, or how many football tackles you got. So if it's a house, what kind of house you got, how many bedrooms. It's always a point system. When the point system stops being important and the quality from which the environment brings to you, you're in a healthy place. If the points is still a driving thing for you, you're probably in a financial trauma. And that means that you're chasing something because you don't want, what it's like to have nothing, and you're fighting tooth and nail not to go back to that. So having a self-assessment is really important. When you can be happy with that 88 Oldsmobile, if you can be happy with that and you don't worry about what people say, you're in a healthier, I'm not gonna say healthy, in a healthier place. When you're with the person that doesn't fit the mold that everybody else says it should fit, but she is good to you, you're in a healthier place. So self-assessment is probably going to be the best thing. And if you don't know how to do a self-assessment, that's one of the ways to do it, is to ask yourself if the point system still matters, because you're trying to impress people who can really care less about you. Then you're not in a good place right now. So yeah. As far as myself, we're still doing In-Step Connects. We're doing a couples coaching. We don't do couples counseling. We we do couples coaching. It's like a football coach. I'm teaching you how to throw the football, not why someone deflated your football on the playground when you was 5. We're not talking about that. We're talking about right now. So we do couples coaching. So we got a couple events coming up with that. But my job is very much so connected with not only just the military, but our ministry. What was that, Queen?
How can they reach you?
How can it reach me?
Hey, Rich, that's my friend, y'all. I'm
I'm
sorry.
always talking to the queen. Yes. Everyone can reach me on Get in Step at yahoo.com. And I'll put my contact information out there because you never know, brothers. We can always connect. 252-288-9345, 252-288-9345. I don't want nobody saying that men don't talk and men don't connect, because we talk for almost 2 hours on this thing. So we have proven everybody wrong. We talk about the things that we want to talk about. So let's just go ahead and make that part clear. So that's it for me, fam.
I'm sorry for squealing. Reese is my girl, so I had to shout her out. Minister Byron.
Okay. Thank you, Camille, for inviting me. I love this. This is right down my wheelhouse. I think what I would say that I would love for the men to take is, first of all, have those cool of the evening moments. That's your God-given right as a man. You have the right to get right in that connection with God, to be in a place where you can get your strategies for your life, because we as Black men have to be healthier in all, Rev said it, in all parts of our lives, our spirit, our physical, and definitely our mental. I think we ignore the mental so much because we're trying to go through life being the provider, being the protector, being the man. That's what society tells us we're supposed to be, the man. But sometimes the man can be the weak one. And so you have to be in a place where you can find connection. I love, man, Prescott, you blessed me with that. You got to be in a place where you can get with God to understand that I can be vulnerable with him. So I love that point. I think that was just the key point for me tonight, is that I do have someone that I can go to, that I can let my guard down, that I can be that vulnerable and, as society say, that weak man. But he's still going to love me, kiss me, and then he's going to push me right back out that door the next day and say, go be the great man that I've called you to be. So I think that's the point that we got to realize, is that we do have someone. And I'm not a big social media guy, but my Facebook is my name. My Instagram is the first part of my email, which is BYR Dixon. That's my email is connected right there. Like I said, I'm a football coach. I do IT, audio, visual, and do a little catering on the side, doing some chef stuff. I'm a grill master. So, reach out to me if you got some things you want to do. I just love living life. I'm enjoying this part of my life right now. Once you hit that 50 range, you kind of start looking at that hill of life, and I'm just really starting to enjoy it. So, yeah, and Camille, I appreciate it. Thanks again. This was great.
You're welcome. I gotta have you back so you have your own episode as well. I'll reach out to you, Marvin.
Hey, earlier I didn't introduce myself. I'm Marvin Boatman. I am a behavior specialist here in Atlanta. I'm also a fashion consultant. I also have a nonprofit organization called the Kingsman's Club, and we service young males and we teach them etiquette, grooming, dress for success, and some other stuff as well. My takeaway is for us males to have more conversations like this, for us to one, not judge a book by its cover, right? We want to make sure that we understand, because you don't know that gentleman that you're walking by may be that blessing that you've been looking for. And when I say that, meaning they may be the key to another career, or just partnering with them to do an organization or have an organization, what have you. So it's very important that we understand that we have to be a little more, when I say putting our pride aside, and really understanding that we really need each other, especially with what's going on now. Like, we really need each other like never before. So it's very imperative that we connect with brothers that we can trust or get to know, so we can get to a level of trusting and kind of go from there. But Camille, again, thank you for always thinking of me. Again, I apologize. I feel so bad that I wasn't on the first half, and I feel like I missed a lot. But if you have me on again, I promise you I'm going to get my computer together and I'm going to be on time and I'll be ready. Thank you again for this opportunity.
You missed a lot. I just want to rub it in.
Oh, wow, bro. Wow. Real.
That's why we have replays.
Come on.
Yeah, it was so good. I'm gonna rub it in your face. It was so good.
Really, Camille, don't do me, please.
I'm Petty Betty. You know, I do what I do. You missed a lot.
Okay.
It was good. Yes, y'all. But first of all, thank you all, gentlemen. I want to bring you back to continue this conversation. I like the chemistry here. It's really good. You all brought a lot to the table. I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate your transparency and your honesty, your wisdom. I'm always thinking about who I want to bring on. I'm very strategic. I think that you all have something to offer. And you all represent something I think that Black men need to see. I'm hoping that those tuning in saw a little bit of themselves in each of you. I cannot wait to see what you all do as you go forth in the community and what you're doing to be leaders and examples to other brothers out here. So as my sweatshirt said, good Black men still exist. I know some, and they're right here. So thank you all so very, very much. Without further ado, y'all tune in next week. And if you have not done so, please go to my website and subscribe. I have a lot of new digital products out there that's available. And I've got something, because y'all know Valentine's Day is next week. So I have something in the works just for my brothers. And I think you all are going to really, really like it. Really, really like it. So that will be coming out. And I'll be announcing that next week for Valentine's Day for the brother in mind. With that being said, y'all, this is Camille Essick. I am host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and critics connect. Until the next one, be blessed, be safe out there. And I love you all. Good night. Bye-bye.